guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so that you are made alert when I do post a new video. As you guys might have realized, I don't actually have a specific day that I post videos, and that's for a reason. Work has been crazy and I film and edit as and when I do have free time. So if you do turn on your post notification bells, then obviously you guys are going to be alerted of when I have posted a new video. So don't forget to turn on your post notification, guys, and let's get right into today's video. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing the lessons that I've learned now that I've moved out, or I'm financially stable, or financially, I don't want to use the word financially independent because I'm not there yet, but for a lack of better word, I am in a financial position where I can take care of myself without needing the support from my parents. So just to give you guys a quick little background story slash a disclaimer, I am someone that doesn't believe in talking about financial aspects of things that I personally haven't experienced. And when it comes to things like moving out, I feel like a good time to have a reflection is a year. So I have been technically financially stable for a year, or haven't moved out of my parents' house or out of my parents' nest for a full year now, and that's why I feel a bit more comfortable to share the lessons that I've learned. And then moving on to the background story, as you guys know, I came back to the UK last year in about January, February time, and at that time I was still under my parents' support. They were still supporting me financially in terms of my rent, my food money, and everything. So I think I then moved out about 6 months later from there, which was June. Technically 5-6 months from then. I then sent them a message and I was like, okay, mom, dad, I think I'm ready to be in a position where I can pay my own bills and you guys don't have to be supporting me financially. So yeah, that's the quick little background story of how I moved out. Now, before I moved out, there's certain things that I had to do for my own sanity. I'm someone that I like to, if I move forward, I don't like to go backwards. I have a I don't want to call it a phobia, because obviously there's situations where you obviously take 2 steps forward and you have to take a step back. But I have such a big fear of failure to the point where whenever I do take my next step, and sometimes I've seen that it does prevent me from taking risks. However, it has helped me in situations where I have seen that, okay, I've progressed in this aspect and I've never gone backwards. My fear of failure has made me someone that is very aware of what the next step that I'm going to take is, and I'm a very calculated person. So before I moved out, I remember when I came here, secured my job and started making money, I started working towards putting money in an emergency fund. And I remember I was telling myself, if I have 5 months worth of rent, 5 months worth of expenses, bills, transport, blah, 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 all my bills put together, then I'll be able to tell my parents that I can do this thing by myself. Because I don't know, I was 24 and I was still being supported by my parents, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. I just want to do this thing by myself. And just to let you guys know, I'm definitely not against people that are being supported by their parents, because obviously everyone's financial situation is different, everyone's financial journey is different. But for me personally, I just wanted to get my own financial freedom or financial independence very quickly. I'm not yet there. I am in financial stability aspect for now. I am slowly working my way through the ranks, but for now, not quite there yet. And I knew one of the biggest things that I needed to do to get to where I wanted to get to was obviously gain financial stability. And in so doing, it has allowed me understand my monthly expenses. It has made me understand the importance of money even more, because you know, when you're now spending your own money, your hard-earned money, to pay your bills, to pay your rent, and it literally hits you guys. It does hit you that, oh my gosh, money is actually a very important aspect. I think if you guys go and watch a video too that I posted about my scarcity mindset, I'm someone that doesn't like letting go of money. But obviously when you have bills, and that's something that has really helped me, having bills that I need to pay for every month, like I need to pay for my transport, I need to pay my rent, I need to buy groceries. That's money that I'm working for, that I consciously have to actually open my hand and let go of. Yes, it's not an investment in the sense that it's not working towards my financial freedom or my financial independence, but it has allowed me to actually stop the scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, if I let go of this money, I'm not going to have any money. And yeah, so the first thing that I did before I moved out was obviously saving at least 5 to 6 months worth of expenses. And the second thing I did was create a budget. I have mentioned in a previous video that I'm not someone that budgets to the T. I don't like the thought of having to sit there and calculate, okay, my income is £1,000, £200 is going to rent, £200. I don't like that. So I put my finances in terms of percentages. If I earn £1,000, I'm going to break that down into percentages. Okay, 50% of this needs to go into my savings and investments. So I know automatically once £1,000 hits my bank account on whatever day my payday is, I need to put £500 away towards my bills, and obviously towards my savings and investments, because I pay myself first. I believe in paying yourself first. And then once I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is take care of my rent, because I don't want to be homeless. So I'm going to pay my 200 for my rent. I'm going to put away my £100 for groceries and food, for groceries and transport. But yeah, just as an example, so now I've got £200 that I can play around with and do whatever it is that I need to do. And if I don't use it, it obviously goes into my emergency fund, right? So that's those are a few of the first things that I did. And then when I felt like I was in a position where I knew how to budget my money, I had a good relationship in terms of putting money away. And bear in mind, I started paying my rent, I think in March. My parents had paid my rent, but I started consciously putting away money towards my rent in March. And the reason I did that is I wanted to see if it was a sustainable thing for me to do, because sometimes you think, okay, I'm making good money, I can move out now. It makes sense at that specific time, but once you move out, you start to realize there's all these other expenses that you didn't account for. Oh my gosh, I need transport money, I need rent money, because when someone else is still paying for your expenses, it's so easy to forget some of the smaller bills. Like I realized that when I was saving, I actually forgot to budget for grocery, because I did have grocery money from my parents. So budgeting for groceries at the time seemed like, oh, okay, whatever, I've got grocery money, right? So I started putting, I think around March, I started putting money away and just like saying, okay, if my rent is going to be £500, I need to put £500 away for rent. And anytime I would go out and buy groceries, I made a conscious decision of writing down a note of how much I had. And at the end of the month, I actually calculated the total and I looked at my pay slip and all the expenses I expected to have and any other expenses that I didn't expect to have. And I actually realized, okay, financially this does make sense, but I had to do it until June just to make sure that it was sustainable. Now, the lessons that I've learned since moving out is that food is expensive. I know that there's inflation and everything is crazy, everything is literally shooting off the roofs, but guys, groceries are expensive, and I'm someone that I'm someone that likes to do my groceries weekly. I don't think that's going to be sustainable. Now that I've done it for a year, I've seen that, okay, this is it's so expensive to do your groceries weekly. So I have changed up, or I am switching up that aspect. I've tried it for a year. It doesn't work for me. For other people, it might work. So as of this month, we're in May. So as of June, I'm going to be trying to do my groceries, just one grocery run at the beginning or the end of the month, and then in between I'm just going to be adding things like veggies and meat. But even with meat, I can literally buy it and put it in the freezer. So that's what I think I'm going to do, because when you do that, it's easier to make a budget. When you do budget your money and put a percentage, it's so easy for you to just quickly dash into the shop for some green pepper, and then when you get there, you end up coming out with a whole grocery basket of things that you don't even need. So having one day out of the month where you know you're going to do all your groceries, I think it's going to help you save even towards your savings. So yeah, that's the first thing that I did. The second thing that I've learned since moving out is it's so important to live below your means. Now, I don't have a lot of bills because, like I said, I do live in a shared accommodation. So I rent out a room and we do have shared kitchen and stuff. So the advantage of living in a shared house is that I don't have to pay bills. So my bills are all inclusive within my rent. So for example, I don't have to pay electricity, gas, Wi-Fi. All those expenses are already within my they're already included in my rent, so I don't have to worry about that. And obviously, when the time comes when I'm moving out of this place and I want to get my own one-bedroom apartment, those are bills that I'm going to have to expect, and it's obviously going to be more rent. Being in a shared room, you can be paying £500, but once you move out into like £500, all bills inclusive, and then once you move out into your own one-bedroom apartment, you might be paying up to £750, £800 per month without the bills. So you're looking, for me, that's double, right? Because I'm already paying £500 for my rent, everything included. If I move out into a one-bedroom apartment, I have to be paying £1,000. And it didn't make any financial sense for me to do that, because that £500 at the moment is going towards my investments. And I'm still living a very comfortable life. I don't need a one-bedroom house, right? So yeah, living below your means, I can afford it, but does it make financial sense? No. So I'm going to stay here and be comfortable. Another thing that I've learned is it's so important to overestimate your bills and underestimate your income. The reason I have started overestimating my bills every month, I know how much my bills are. Like I said, I've been renting for a whole year, so my bills don't really fluctuate much. Obviously, things like food, when I do go out, like with friends, which is very rarely, you do have the odd Saturday that your friends are like, oh, let's go out for lunch, or the odd weekends where you're just like, I'm not in a very good mood, I want to go out, watch a movie, and then come back and, carry on with my day. There is those odd days, but naturally my budget doesn't necessarily change. But the reason I have started kind of overestimating my bills is just so that the extra money of bills, I'm putting it more towards my savings. And underestimating obviously your income means you also have that buffer or that cushion to fall on should an emergency come through. You don't obviously have to immediately tap into your emergency fund, because you still have that buffer that you've kind of left. So I'll give you guys a quick little example. If I earn £1,000, I'm going to say my income is £700, and then I'm going to estimate all my bills. If my bills are like £500, I'm going to say maybe 550. So that means I've got 250 extra, well, 350 actually extra that I can use towards my savings, investments, or even as an emergency fund for that specific month should an emergency come up. The next thing is, I obviously mentioned this one earlier, I did practice living as though I was paying my own bills, living as though I was renting for at least 3 months before I actually moved out. And it really helped me, because it does put things into perspective. Because sometimes finances, writing them down on paper, it does make sense. But until you start putting money away, so when my payslip would come in, what I would do is, obviously I was putting it towards my emergency funds, because as I always say, don't leave your money in your current account or in your low savings in your savings account, because you're not gaining anything, you're losing money due to interest. But once you start putting your money in a high interest savings account, you're obviously going to gain money. So what I did in March was, when I got my payslip and I got my salary, I started looking at the houses on the market. Initially, I was actually looking at one-bedroom apartments, and at that time, to be honest with you, I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money to be renting out an apartment for £1,000, and then bills £100, and then you've got transport and all these, and that was going to probably end up as £1,500. And I was just like, at the moment, this doesn't make any financial sense. It's not necessary for me to do this. So I then opted for the option of living in a shared accommodation. And when I did find shared accommodation, the rent was anywhere between £450 and £600, which for me seemed a bit more realistic. And then transport money, obviously I think a bus pass is like £150. I pay a lot less than that. So yeah, I had to put away 150, just as you know, I like overstating my expenses. And then I had to put away money for food as well. So these were the 3 main categories that I was putting money away for. And I needed to see that, do I still have enough to put towards my savings? Do I still have enough to put towards my investments, even after all these bills were paid? And I did. I did it for 3 good months. So that was March, April, May. And then obviously June is when I moved out. So yeah, 3 good months before I obviously decided to move out. And then the next thing is have a plan. It is so important for people to have a plan. I remember when I moved out, the plan was to be here for 6 months and then move out into my own 1-bedroom apartment, because I was like, oh, let me move into this place. It's a lot cheaper. And then I can be saving a lot more towards moving out into my 1-bedroom apartment. That was my plan. Plans do change. And the reason I changed my plans is because it didn't make any financial sense for my financial goals that I have in the future. I can move out into a 1-bedroom apartment. I can pay £1,100 a month. But does that make sense in the long run? No, it doesn't, because then that means my investments and my savings account are going to be cut drastically. And do I want that for myself? No. Especially considering I'm going to be renting out this apartment. I'm not paying off a mortgage. If, for example, I'm moving out to pay a higher rent in terms of mortgage, then that makes financial sense. But for me, I just didn't see the necessity of moving into a more expensive apartment where it's not even going to be counting towards my future, right? Because all the rent I'm paying now, yes, I've got a roof over my head, but it's not contributing towards my financial freedom or my financial journey. It's just an expense. It's just a bill. It's like food you eat, it's digested, and that's it. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the video. I know I was rambling quite a lot, but if there is a lot of points in there if you listen carefully. But yeah, before you move out, just make sure that it's something that you're doing because it's what you want. Don't ever, I think one thing I actually wanted to talk about is how moving out has been glamorized. I watch a lot of American YouTubers, and most of them, if not all, are moving. By the time they turn 18, everyone is moving out, everyone has their own apartment, they're financially free. And if you're someone that is from where I'm from, that's like Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, those kind of areas, I think it's so important for you to just be very wary that a lot of these people in America, especially if they're on YouTube, they're earning a lot more, a significant amount more than a lot of the YouTubers that are back home. I don't know if, well, Kayams is someone that I follow, and she's a South African YouTuber, one of the biggest South African YouTubers. And she actually posted on her story, on her Instagram story one day that, you know, it's so painful for her to know how much she earns in AdSense and just ads in general of like companies or campaigns that she does as compared to her companions that are in America. And if someone that is that big is not even earning as much as someone that is as big as her in America, so just imagine how much the smaller YouTubers are earning. So just be very wary when you do see these American YouTubers moving out. Just know that they are at an advantage because of where they are from. That's not to discourage someone that is back home in Africa or in the UK or whatever, not to move out because of your, but just make sure it makes financial sense for you and you're doing it for yourself as opposed to doing it because it's the trend. Everybody's moving out at 18. I've turned 18. I've got a cute job. It doesn't work like that, because the last thing you want to do is move out, have all your friends celebrate you, because we all throwing a housewarming party when we move out, have your friends celebrating you, and then you have to move back home, especially if you're in a first world country. That does affect your credit. It affects a whole lot of things, and it's not worth it if you're doing it for the glamorized life that you see on social media. So yeah, stay at home as much as you want, as long as you want. Like I've said in my previous video, I think it was last week's video, I did mention that if I could stay with my parents, I really would move in with my parents and be paying the amount of rent that I'm paying towards them, or like towards contributing for bills at home, because that, for me, that makes more financial sense because I'm helping my parents out, right? But yeah, that brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do suggest some videos that you want down below. I think next week's video is going to be a try on haul. So yeah, please do subscribe and turn on your post notification bells, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.